anything here, I get to drink a beer while I work.
Amen.
So it is undoubtedly the best. Welcome in to the Behind the Wall pregame show special. 30 minutes before kickoff, I got Chris Buchanani joining me. We are at the We Are in Phillipsburg. So come on out. We're having a little bit of a watch party out here, drinks, food.
This is legit the Penn Stadiest place to watch a Penn State game in all of Happy Valley.
I don't think I've ever seen this many Penn State jerseys and just memorabilia all around. We got Joe Paterno. You can't even really see him. Joe Paterno cut out in the back right here. I mean, it is Penn State tricked out.
There's signed jerseys all over the place. So right behind you got one of my all-time favorite Nittany Lions, running back Tony Hunt over there. Got Pat Fryermuth, Anthony Zettel in front of us. Mike Zordas Jr., the fullback. Mike Maudy, John Capoletti, Paul Posluszny. It's good stuff.
Great place. Come on down to the We Are in Phillipsburg. Let's see, Booch. We are listening. We're watching Ohio State, Indiana. It started out to be a good game. It's 31-7, and we just about 20 minutes ago we had Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson say that this game looks a lot like Penn State, Ohio State, comparing the 31-7 game to a game that Penn State lost by 7.
Yeah,
and that was close the entire game.
There's running, passing, punting. It's comparable in many ways, Landon.
I mean, Booch, the bias that we've heard all week from ESPN, from Fox, we get it from every angle. I mean, why do we get – has this always been a thing? I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. Why is Penn State hated right now in the media? I mean, it feels like we cannot catch a break. Everybody wants to label us something. And then there's even ESPN pundits that are saying incorrect things. Nick Saban saying that we haven't beaten a ranked team. Illinois is ranked number 25. It's getting to the point where it's getting a little bit ridiculous and like there's an agenda.
So it's one thing when you get it from Fox. I cannot, in a twisted way, I can understand it on ESPN because we have kind of created with the new media rights deals like this weird like Fox News versus MSNBC dynamic where ESPN, which is ABC Disney, has a vested financial interest in just the SEC. It used to be back before the previous deals. They would do Big Ten games. They would do SEC games. They'd do some Big 12, some Pac-12. So they're covering the sport. Now they make more money if more SEC teams get into the playoffs. Like I can kind of understand it. Like, it's not a high margin business we have entered into, Landon. So I get why they're trying to pump up the SEC at the expense of the other conferences. And the same thing, Fox has a vested financial interest in the Big Ten doing well, which is why it's more inexplicable when Klatt and Gus Johnson are just ragging on us on the regular.
I got to admit, I started this year a fan of Gus Johnson. I liked him coming in this year.
Absolutely.
And it went sour so quick. It went south. It was just like, it was the UCLA game was bad for me because he called Zion Tracy, Caden Saunders 2 different times. He also called Ryan Barker, their kicker, I believe. There was a situation with the kickers. And then overall, for me, and I tweeted this out this week, Joel Klatt signed off from the UCLA Penn State game saying, basically, my main takeaway is that UCLA got better today. It was 27-3 with like 15 seconds left. They scored a garbage time touchdown. But I mean, really, the national media has put it out there on Penn State. It is clear they do not want to see us win. But let's talk about today to really actually get to the playoffs. We got to finish this season off, Booch. And the last hurdle really is Minnesota today.
100%.
They're a good team. I think they're well coached, and they're classic middle of the Big Ten, Midwestern, hard-nosed football, going to play, sound, well coached, but they just don't have the athletes that we have.
So let me ask you, so they're 6-4. Do you feel like they've overachieved a little bit based on your preseason expectations? So I would say they did for me. I thought this was going to be about a 4-win team.
I think so. I mean, they brought in Max Brosmer, who's their quarterback, and he's 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And I like him. I'm honestly a fan of his. He came 4 years at New Hampshire, so kind of the Walmart version of like that 5th-year quarterback transfer we had a couple last year with Michael Penix. We had Bo Nix, and now this is, like I said, the lower level of that. So he's doing a good enough job with what he's got.
Your description of him on Twitter I thought was spot on, which is that he's like a poor man's Luke Altmaier.
Yeah, because I think it's perfect because it's very similar to kind of that offense. Like this game is going to be very similar to Wisconsin and Illinois. If we can take away their short passes and stop the run and force them to actually have to pass down the field, that's not where they're super comfortable at. I think that that's like I said, we suffocated Wisconsin at the end, the second half. Booch was pacing back and forth in the first half. It wasn't.
You're going to see more pacing today. I promise.
This is my second game with Booch. I'm excited.
Lots of pacing, I promise.
I love seeing the nervousness from the fans.
Well,
but,
there is a ton right now because again, as you mentioned, I've been at this a long time, so I remember some real heartbreakers between Penn State and the Golden Gophers.
Listen, 2019 for one there. That was. I mean, we were college football playoffs. We beat Michigan in 2019, lost to Ohio State. We were going to have one loss and go to the playoffs. We all know what happened in Minnesota. That was the last time we played in Minnesota. It was 2019. So time to avenge it.
Yeah, so here's what I find a little unusual. So we're going into our 33rd full season here competing in football in the Big Ten. We only played Minnesota 16 times.
Really?
Yeah, which was shocking to me. But I went back and I looked at good Winsipedia, great website for seeing all-time head-to-head between programs. The series favors the Nittany Lions 10-6, but it's just shocking to me that you've only played them 16 times in 33 years.
Did we lose to them in 90? Is that who upset us in 99? Because we were number one.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So they're bringing that up. By the way.
Sorry, I see. This is like Penn State history. I don't even know. I'm too young for this. So they have basically ruined us playoffs and national champion 2 times now.
Correct.
So
but only in years ending with 9. So I think we might be all right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. All right. They're playing the numbers game today. No, I think this Minnesota team. They are a really solid team, but like I said, you have better athletes than them. I think on offense with Kotoniki, get your best players, Nick Singleton, Tyler Warren, the ball in space. And, similar to Purdue, they're obviously a step up from Purdue, but that was clear. We wanted to get in space last week. I think it's kind of more of the same today. And I think you got to get some wide receivers involved, Booch. I mean,
that'd be good, huh?
We're sitting. I mean, listen,
part of an offense traditionally.
We're sitting here week 11, and I keep saying we got to get a wide receiver involved. Like, I mean, I might just give up at this point. I keep saying it on my pre and post game shows. And listen, we're at the We Are In. I'm enjoying a couple brewskis here, so I guess the honesty's flowing. But it's like we keep asking for it to show up. And it's not. When do we just stop expecting it and just say, okay, it's going to be Tyler Warren? Because if you think versus Purdue, we were never going to lose to Purdue. But to get that spark, it was like we had to put in Tyler Warren at quarterback.
Well, okay. So, all right, let me just say this. So I'm talking earlier this morning. I'm talking to my good buddy, Mike Levine. Shout out, Mike, if he's watching. And he said to me, we were talking about the wide receiver position. He said, what's Penn State's offensive identity this year? And I said, honestly, I think their offensive identity is Tyler Warren. Yeah. And he said, well, then that's a problem. I said, is it? Is it a problem? Like, I think we're now, not just locally, but nationally, having a legitimate conversation about that guy as one of the finalists for the Heisman Trophy. I said, what's Boise State's offensive identity? What's Colorado's identity? If you have a guy who is good enough, for the love of Christ, from the tight end position to be in the Heisman Trophy conversation, if that guy's open and he's going to make the play for you, what, you're going to try to force it to a wide receiver so we can feel better about our offensive diversity? No, just get the ball to your elite playmaker. If he belongs indeed in the conversation for the best to play the position of Penn State, which I think he does, and I don't say lightly, if the play is there to him, just keep going to him.
And, I think you're right. And
the question, that, of course, is then if Ohio State takes him away, do you have anybody else who can be an option for you?
That's what I want to see today. Yeah. It's like we haven't been able to. I think this is the second best defense we're going to play all year. I think.
I was going to ask you. You think they're a little bit better than Illinois?
Yeah. I think they're a little bit better than Illinois. Illinois' passing defense was really legit, but up front, I'll tell you, there's a little bit of a challenge today for Nick Dawkins, Venga Ioane, and Sal Wormley. Where can we get a push? Because if we can get a push up front and actually establish the run, I think this is more of an easy game. If you can actually be what we were the first 4 games, where it was 200 yards rushing, 200 yards plus passing, and it was like, hey, we can do everything, Kotoniki, everything, all that backfield fun stuff that he's doing. It works because ultimately the run game works, and then you can stretch the field and everything kind of builds off of each other. We haven't been able to really stretch the ball down the field the past couple weeks. The explosiveness in the run game has been hurting because Nick Singleton's been hurt. And overall, the offense just hasn't seemed as explosive. So I think this is a day where you can get back on track if you're the Penn State offense. But like I said, it is the second hardest test they have this year. And I think that's where Minnesota, that's where they can cling on to hope, their defense. It's a good defense. When you look more on the offensive side, like I said, we've shown the ability to shut down this type of team where they want to run the ball and quick passes. We've done that multiple times this year, and that's why I think First half, it'll be close, and then I think we can pull away.
And they don't have like an Abraham-style back who's going to rank in some of the top runners in the conference. I want to circle back to something you said about our run game, because to me, I think, matching up with this defense, if Penn State can average 4+ yards a carry on first down consistently in the first half, this one's going to be a laugher down the stretch. So I know you watch a lot of tape, and there's a sense among the casual fans who just maybe watch a game once that the run game hasn't quite been there the last couple of weeks. But then when you go back and you look at how the flow of the game has gone, if you've got, Tyler Warren ripping off a big run off a direct snap, and then Bo Prabula doing the same thing, and all this Trey Wallace is open in the end zone on a deep pass, and then you are very quickly getting into run the clock out mode, maybe you're just not in a situation where you have to consistently grind it out on the ground. So is it more that we're struggling to run the ball, or it's just game flow has put us in a position where we don't have to?
No, I think that's a good point. I think you're right. And honestly, like I said, those first couple of weeks, we saw the ability to do both. Then we went Illinois and we really couldn't pass, but we relied on the run game. And It was like, okay, that was the first game in a long time. We have said we can't really pass. We got to rely on the offensive line and the running back. And we were able to get it done. And so then you go to USC, it was the complete opposite. Take away the run, and you rely 391 yards from Drew Aller, career all-time high. So now it's, can we kind of shift back? And like you said, there's different games, different circumstances, but at the end of the day, you need to get back to being that's Penn State's offensive backbone of being a run-first team, being able to rely on your two great running backs that we have right now. So, Booch, we're going to take a break here in 1 second. One thing I had to bring this up, that there is multiple players now opting out of the final 2 games in college football. They had an answer. So the question was, all right, now we're going college football playoffs. Maybe people won't opt out. Now they're saying, forget opting out of the bowl game. Michigan cornerback Will Johnson, who is top 10 pick, said he is done. He's not playing against Northwestern, and he's not playing against Ohio State, which hurts us because now, since Ohio State's going to beat Indiana today, technically – Michigan beats Ohio State next week, we can be in the Big Ten championship. That would place us in the Big Ten championship. Your thoughts on guys now opting out, technically midseason, towards the end, but midseason?
Yeah, well, the good news is I didn't think Michigan was going to beat Ohio State with Will Johnson.
Exactly.
So there was an Iowa corner whose name I can't remember, who did the same thing. He's out. Look, I mean, I am very curmudgeonly by nature, maybe not as much as Kevin Horn, but I'm close up there. I don't love it. I think, though, again, with all of this NIL stuff, to me, it ultimately comes down to don't hate the player, hate the game. Like, for a very long time, the people in charge of the sport of college football recognized that all the momentum in the court of law and the court of public opinion was going towards these guys need to get paid somehow. There's such a massive imbalance between the money the sport is creating and the lack of benefit, especially financially, that the guys who do the work that make it valuable, the players, are drawn back to themselves. It was obvious it was going in that direction. They could have fixed it a dozen times since the turn of the century, and they never did. And so now we're stuck in this situation where it's just kind of happened with no guidance, no control, no structure. And now I'm supposed to blame the players who are just caught in the churn of it for taking advantage of the Wild West nature of it. I'm not going to blame the players. I'm going to blame the adults in the room for not putting some guardrails around the whole thing. And I think we're real close with the House settlement and revenue sharing. And now we've had a few years of just like Wild West NIL. I think we're headed towards a direction where the whole thing is going to get a little bit more buttoned up. And when it does, part of it is going to be a requirement that if you're going to take this money, you're going to make a commitment to play when you're healthy. And so, look, I don't love it. I don't think it's terrific for the sport. I don't think it's crippling, but I don't blame the players. I blame the so-called grown-ups who could have fixed the problem and didn't.
I'm right there with you. Now we are offering $10 million to a high school recruit.
Yeah, you better hope he doesn't suck. Right
now,
how many times has the number
deal.
one quarterback in his class just stunk? As soon as that news came out, my friends are texting me about it, and I said, "Yeah, like, you buyer beware." Can you imagine like giving Jimmy Clausen $12 million when he was a high school senior?
No.
A lot of times, the number one quarterback in his class has been terrible. Go look at the top 10 in Drew Aller's class. Would you have wanted to give $12 million to any of those other guys? Hell no.
No, it's a new world of NIL, that is for sure. Indiana making a little bit of a game. Now we got 15 to 31 with 2 minutes left. Well, I guess that's a little that for the pundits. That was good for Indiana to score 8 points there just now.
Booger McFarland thinks this game was competitive for 4 quarters now.
Now they're going to say, look, if they get another point, Indiana, they're going to say Indiana was just as close as Penn State in the Ohio. That's going to be the word of the week now. Just the same type of loss. Well, okay, so now let's talk about Indiana for a second.
Yes.
What you do right now. Now that just helped their playoff chances a lot. They just scored 8 points. I think that did a lot because if they're blown out by 7 to 31, that looks a lot worse than 15 to 31. Can you take Indiana all the way down out of the playoffs now, do you think, with this loss to Ohio State, where they have played not a hard schedule at all?
The committee can do whatever it wants. The first year of the playoffs, TCU's number 4 almost the entire time. They scored 55 points in their final game. But Ohio State wins the Big Ten championship, and the committee was like, TCU, sorry. Hashtag brand. Yeah. Ohio State's going. And Ohio State won the national championship that year.
Right.
So you can't even really argue with what they did. So, yeah, they can do anything. I do. It's crazy. And it's just the beautiful insanity of the sport we love, of college football. I completely agree with you that meaningless touchdown maybe saved their playoff hopes. Because at 31-7, I think they're out. Now maybe they at least get a chance to go on the road in the first round.
Yeah,
maybe
a little bit of hope there, and
especially because there's more chaos happening in the SEC right now.
I know. Wait, where's the? I need to check on the Ole Miss game and where we're at with that.
24-17 with 5 minutes to go in the swamp.
So number 9, Ole Miss very well could go down to Florida. Then that really starts to mess with everybody's narrative of the SEC.
And even again, like if you apply the same standard that our buddy Booger McFarland did to Penn State versus UCLA, the fact that Georgia is not blowing the doors off UMass at home, that says like, okay, maybe this narrative around the SEC's dominance is a little manufactured this year. And so in that kind of environment, I think Indiana's got a much better argument than had Georgia won like 50-7 and if Ole Miss was blowing out Florida.
And where we're at right now, I mean, everybody, now there are people are making, I already saw someone making the case for how Florida is a good, Florida, they're mid-tier teams.
Every team is great.
I mean, do we think we pair Florida up against like a Wisconsin? Like that's a good game. Like those are equally middle of the pack SEC Big Ten teams. I just don't get this like notion of, they have to play, Ole Miss has to play Florida. We have to play Wisconsin. They were good. We handled them.
Yep.
And good, like I said, they're 5-6 win team where we stand right now. And so, there is a lot of
final score notwithstanding. I think this result of Ohio State versus Indiana today is good for Penn State. And I think what happened last weekend at Camp Randall Stadium with Oregon struggling in the same situation, a night game at Wisconsin, I think that was good for Penn State.
Yeah.
I think we need to stop worrying about scoreboard watching and style points. We just got to win 2 games and we're hosting a playoff.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we take care of today. Maryland is on the same worry level as Purdue for me. We're going to be all right. And we're going to have a home playoff game right before Christmas here in Beaver Stadium. That should be fun. We have to take care of business today. And one thing I do want to talk about the playoffs, they're showing Pregame has a little Tyler Warren interview situation going on. It's looking like an interesting thing going on for him. Can Tyler Warren be our offense? And how deep do you think that can take you into the playoffs if we play someone, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State at some point, that can take him away?
No, I mean, look, the simple answer is no. I feel like you're teeing me up to say that, but it's obvious. You've got to have more diversity to your offense. But here's the thing. I think that Penn State can. You brought up Nick Singleton's been a little dinged up the last few weeks. We also talk about the caliber of competition. You can win different ways. So if you're winning XYZ way convincingly, putting yourself in position to get that playoff game, especially as some of your guys are getting healthy, like just do it. Just do what you need to do. And so, when I look at Penn State's offense, I think we have now got to the point where the pendulum has swung the other way, where we actually believe the receivers might be worse than they actually are, just because of the lack of production the last couple of weeks. Although, as I just keep hammering home the point, if the guy's open, throw the ball to him, and that's just been Tyler Warren. By and large. And also, you've been into garbage time in the second half of the last 2 football games you played. Like the third and fourth quarter have been functional garbage time the last 2 weeks. So I can't take that seriously what I'm seeing from the offense. at that point. I think that if you look around college football and the 2 games in the SEC we just referenced are proof positive, every team is flawed in one way or another. And Penn State's one of the 12 best for sure, one of the 10 best in college football. So just get in there and see what happens. And we got a good defense. We got the guy who's going to be the number 1 edge rusher in his draft class in Abdul Carter. Got a quarterback who's playing really, really well, night and day from where he was as a sophomore, in Drew Aller. And an offensive line that, as I said, for the 3rd year running is at worst not a liability, which is something you couldn't say for some of those previous Penn State teams that got to the lip of the cup of the 14 playoff and couldn't get over the hump. I'll take it.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly something that hasn't been talked about enough this year is Drew Aller's growth into not only on the field, but also just from a leadership standpoint, him growing up. And you can see it.
By the way, I know we're only on. Can I swear? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Well, down number 1. At West Virginia, he gets up and he's motherfucking that ref. It's like this was a guy who people came. I was saying it too. You looked at his sophomore year and you came in and you said, man, the body language from this guy on field was not great at times in 2023. And then you saw that and you were like, oh, yeah, maybe this is something different this year. And I think it's been from that point forward, he's been a different dude in a good way. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm excited to see how he can show up the rest of the season. We are going to take a quick second, real quick, and then we are going to hop on with Blair Thomas, former Penn State legend, national championship winner from '86. He will be on with 1 second. We will be right back after this quick break.
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1390.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
2 of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going.
Welcome back into the Behind the Wall pregame show. We are now joined by my man, Blair Thomas, Penn State legend, national champion. Thank you for sitting down with us, man. Appreciate it. How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
You ready to see Nittany Lions get a W today?
Yes, I'm getting geeked up right now. I'm getting excited.
Let's go. I'm
getting close to game time.
I know it's about time. We got about 10 minutes, although I will tell you, college is so different from the NFL. They kick off on time in the NFL. College is like they're like 10 minutes late. So we'll wait a little bit longer. We just had the Indiana-Ohio State game conclude. Ohio State could have scored a touchdown. They went down right before. So we actually have a chance at the Big Ten championship still, gentlemen. Ohio State loses to Michigan next week.
Absolutely.
We are in the Big Ten championship. Listen, there's a possibility. Hey, tell them there's always a chance. There's always a chance.
Always.
All right, Blair, I want to talk about for 1 second. You played a lot of ball in your life. We are sitting here. It is week 11 of the college football season. Can you talk about how's your body feeling at this point in time in the season?
Well, the one thing that I used to do is I wanted my body to become calloused before the season start. That way I know that I was going to feel like crap the rest of the year. So that was the mindset, because 195 coming out of Penn State going against linebackers that's 230, 240, blitz pickup. You know, me against Shane Collins, myself against Trey Bauer and some of those big guys. So your body needs to become callous so you get used to that pounding. So you know your body's going to feel a certain way. And now we just got to ride with it.
Well, and back then, Blair, compared to the modern day, what Joe was allowed to do to you guys in August, beat the crap out of you those 3 days, like that doesn't fly anymore.
No, they got all kinds of breaks built in. They can't go 2 or more days back to back. There's so many different rules. Whereas when I played, even in college, it was tougher, and then the pros was even a longer, kind of mini camp, as you would say.
Sure.
Yeah, and the thing I was the most shocked by was that bowl games, you guys would go a week early, right? And he would put you guys through like 2-a-days, like fall camp in December. Is this true?
Let me tell you what. My freshman year, we're playing Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl for the national championship. We're on campus. It snowed the night before that we had practice. So back then, where the football facility was the Greenberg complex, and they had the ice hockey under the bottom. So they didn't move the snow off, I guess, in time. So we went indoors this day. And then we thought, okay, we're indoors, we're cool. But then he said, no, we're going outside. They moved the snow. We wound up going outside, practicing in the snow, where the game was going to be played in Florida. We got to go out there and torture ourselves in the snow. But those are mind games which they'll played on you. He made sure we stayed focused, and yes. So
yeah, I do want to ask. So that after the '85 season obviously ended in a little bit of heartbreak. I've heard stories that the older guys didn't have to do spring ball. That Joe trusted them enough and said, "You guys are." What was the story behind that? He had some trust in the older guys.
Some of the older guys that had more experience, that played a lot of football. He let some of those guys, take it easy a little bit in the spring, because they was in their 5th year. They already proven what they can do, and most of them didn't have to come back. They could have just graduated and went on with their future careers. But we had those guys that was committed to, the team, the Bob Whites, the Shane Collins, all those guys were in their 5th year. Trey John, Tim Johnson, all those guys.
Yeah.
So
because they were all part of the 82 recruiting class, and almost none of them played that year. Rogers Alexander, guys. Everybody else redshirted because that was pretty much normal.
Massimo Banco was our kicker. He was on both national championship teams.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, absolutely legendary right here, sitting down with Blair Thomas. We got about a minute left. Let's go down the line, get our predictions for today's game. Blair, I want to start out with you. Penn State at Minnesota, heading into maybe the playoffs. What is your score prediction for today?
My score right now, I'm feeling somewhere around 31 to 17.
Okay. 31-17. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I think that'd be a good.
I don't know how they're going to get to that 31. But somehow it's going to be off the beaten path. It is.
It's a good defense over there.
It could be something. It's going to be something different.
All right. I like it. Booch, score prediction.
Okay. So I already picked the score and obligatory. So now for superstitious purposes, I got to keep it the same. And the score prediction itself was all about superstition, because we talked about it. 99, 2019, I am shitting bricks right now. And so I said, this is not my actual score prediction, but I just feel like I got to pick it close because I'm superstitious. I don't want to jinx it. Penn State 27-24. I don't care. Just get the dub.
Oh, okay. I like it.
Win.
I will finish us off 31-14. 14, Penn State. I think we will take this one home. Kickoff is coming in about 10 minutes. Blair Thomas, thank you so much for sitting down with us, man. Chris Buchanani, thank you for sitting down. Come and check out the We Are in Phillipsburg. Best food, alcohol, great time. We got Tom Bradley here, former Penn State player and coach. I mean, listen, it's a stacked house. We got Penn State legends all throughout the building, so come on down to the We Are in Phillipsburg. Appreciate you guys tuning in.
Let's go State.
Let's go.